up. What if I told you that Cleopatra could have slid into Julius Caesar's DMs instead of hiding in that carpet? What if Alexander the Great had a YouTube channel documenting his world conquests? And here's the crazy part. What if the fall of the Roman Empire could have been prevented by a simple group chat notification? Look, we panic when our Wi-Fi goes down for 5 minutes. We can't even order food without an app. But somehow we think ancient people were just fine waiting 6 months for a letter? That's insane. Here's what nobody talks about. Those ancient civilizations weren't primitive. They were smart, scary smart. They built things we still can't figure out today. So what happens when you give that level of intelligence? The same technology that turned your grandmother into a Facebook conspiracy theorist. This is Mindshift, and I guarantee this video will change how you see both ancient history and your phone. Subscribe now and drop your wildest historical what if in the comments. I read every single one. Okay, so it's 50 BCE and Julius Caesar just posted, Veni Vidi Vici, but make it a TikTok. You think I'm joking? Listen to this. Caesar was already one of history's greatest self-promoters. The guy literally wrote his own war memoirs to make himself look good. Now imagine him with a smartphone. We're talking about the world's first military influencer with 1 million followers watching his conquest of Gaul in real time. Day 47 of conquering Europe. Who's still with me? Roman Empire. Conquer Gaul. SPQR. But here's what blows my mind. The Roman Empire was already running the most sophisticated logistics operation the world had ever seen. They moved armies across continents, managed supply lines that stretched from Scotland to Egypt, and kept detailed records of everything. Now add smartphones to that system. Roman generals aren't waiting weeks for orders from Rome anymore. They're getting real-time strategic updates. Supply problems? Solved with a quick message to the nearest province. Enemy movements? Tracked and shared instantly across the entire military network. The Roman road system was their internet. It connected the entire known world. With actual internet on top of that? Game over. We're talking about an administrative efficiency that wouldn't just dominate the ancient world, it would make modern governments look incompetent. And get this. Roman engineering was so advanced that their concrete is still stronger than what we use today. Their buildings have lasted 2,000 years. Now give those engineers access to YouTube tutorials, 3D modeling apps, and instant consultation with experts across the empire. The Colosseum took 8 years to build. With smartphones, they probably would have finished it in 3. But the real kicker? The Roman Empire lasted over 1,000 years even with ancient communication. With modern tech, it might still be running today. Now forget everything you know about ancient trade being slow and risky. I'm about to blow your mind. The Silk Road wasn't just a trade route, it was the world's first global economy. Merchants were moving silk from China, spices from India, gold from Africa, all the way to European markets. But here's the crazy part. They were doing it completely blind. A Chinese silk merchant would pack up his camels, travel for months through deserts and mountains, with zero idea if Europeans even wanted silk that year. He might arrive in Rome to find the market flooded with silk from other traders. Or worse, he might get there and discover Romans were suddenly obsessed with Indian cotton instead. Now give that same merchant a smartphone. Boom. He's checking European market prices before he even leaves Beijing. He's taking pre-orders through merchant apps. He's tracking demand in real time across multiple cities. Instead of gambling his entire fortune on a guess, he's running data-driven international trade. But wait, it gets better. Weather apps mean no more losing entire caravans to unexpected storms. Translation apps eliminate those awkward negotiations where nobody understands anybody. GPS means no more getting lost in the desert for months. The economic explosion would have been insane. We're talking about supply and demand balancing instantly across 3 continents. Price discovery happening in real time. Market inefficiencies getting eliminated overnight. And here's the part that gives me chills. Cultural exchange would have happened at warp speed. Chinese gunpowder reaches Europe in days, not centuries. Islamic mathematics spreads globally before lunch. Greek philosophy becomes trending worldwide content. The Library of Alexandria could have been the world's first Wikipedia. with scholars from every civilization contributing knowledge. All right, this is where things get really wild. Ancient Athens invented democracy, but it had one massive limitation. You had to physically show up to vote. Only male citizens who could walk to the agora got to participate in government. Women, slaves, foreigners, they were out of luck. But even among eligible voters, if you lived far from the city center or couldn't take time off work, you basically had no voice in democracy. Smartphones change everything. Suddenly, democratic participation isn't limited by geography or schedule. Secure voting apps mean every citizen can participate in every decision. Real-time polling shows public opinion as it develops. Government transparency goes through the roof because everything gets live-streamed. Ancient kings and emperors controlled information like their lives depended on it. Because they did. Subjects only knew what rulers wanted them to know. Bad harvests, keep it quiet. Military defeats, spin it as strategic retreats. Corruption? What corruption? But you can't control information when everyone has a camera and internet access. Government corruption gets exposed by citizen journalists. Oppressive policies face instant organized resistance. The divine right of kings becomes pretty hard to maintain when everyone can fact-check your claims about talking to gods. Revolutionary ideas that once took generations to spread across empires could now topple governments in weeks. The concept of human rights, religious freedom, democratic governance, these ideas could have emerged thousands of years early. Ancient Greek philosophers, Chinese thinkers, Indian spiritual leaders, their ideas could have reached global audiences instantly instead of slowly trickling through trade routes over centuries. We might have skipped the entire concept of absolute monarchy and jumped straight to international democratic cooperation. The United Nations could have formed in 500 CE instead of 1945 CE. Hold up. Before you start thinking this ancient smartphone thing is all sunshine and democracy, let me hit you with some reality. Ancient people believed some absolutely wild stuff, and they didn't have Google to fact-check anything. Romans thought diseases were punishments from angry gods. Medieval Europeans were convinced that taking a bath would kill you. Entire cities would panic because someone saw a comet and decided it meant the world was ending. Now give these same people social media algorithms designed to show them the most engaging content possible. And guess what's more engaging than boring old facts? Fear, outrage, conspiracy theories. Breaking. Local priest claims plague is caused by foreigners poisoning wells. Share to save your family. That post goes viral in hours instead of spreading through word of mouth over months. Except now it's not just your village that believes it. It's the entire empire. Mass hysteria doesn't stay local anymore. It goes global. The Black Death killed a third of Europe, partly because people had no idea what caused it or how to treat it. But imagine if, during that same plague, viral conspiracy theories about the cause were spreading faster than the actual disease. False cures trending on ancient TikTok, while real medical knowledge gets buried by the algorithm. Ancient people were already prone to scapegoating during disasters. Jews got blamed for the Black Death. Christians got blamed for the fall of Rome. Foreigners got blamed for everything. Now multiply that mob mentality by the power of viral content, and you've got genocide-level violence happening within days of the first conspiracy post going viral. And here's the terrifying part. Ancient leaders weren't exactly known for their restraint or fact-checking. An emperor receives reports of a rebellion based on viral misinformation. He's not going to investigate carefully. He's going to send legions to crush it immediately. We're talking about empire-wide civil wars starting because of fake news that spread faster than anyone could verify it. You think modern cancel culture is intense? Ancient societies had public executions for entertainment. They literally fed people to lions for fun. Now add social media mob dynamics to that level of casual violence. In ancient Rome, if you wanted to destroy someone's reputation, you had to work for it. Write speeches, distribute pamphlets, convince people face-to-face. It took time and effort, which meant only the most serious accusations got traction. But with smartphones? One viral accusation and you're done. No trial, no evidence, just the mob deciding you're guilty based on a trending hashtag. Ancient Athens actually executed Socrates for corrupting the youth with his philosophical questions. That was after a proper trial with arguments and deliberation. In a social media environment, Socrates gets cancelled by an online mob before he even develops his famous method of questioning. The world's greatest thinkers, Buddha, Confucius, Jesus, they were all controversial figures who challenged conventional wisdom. They survived long enough to change history because it took time for opposition to organize against them. In our digital scenario, revolutionary ideas get shut down before they can develop. Ancient political discourse was already pretty brutal. Roman senators literally stabbed Julius Caesar to death in the Senate, but at least that required them to show up in person and face consequences. Digital assassination is risk-free and anonymous. Every petty local politician now has access to sophisticated propaganda techniques. Foreign enemies can interfere in domestic politics without sending armies. Just bot farms spreading divisive content designed to tear societies apart from within. Ancient Greece had ostracism. They could vote to exile politicians for 10 years. But that required community discussion and careful deliberation. Transform that into social media-driven mob justice, and democratic institutions collapse under viral outrage cycles. Historical figures who made mistakes early but learned from them never get that chance for redemption. Alexander the Great's teenage tantrums are preserved forever in digital infamy, potentially preventing him from becoming one of history's greatest leaders. But here's the most terrifying possibility. It's not that ancient civilizations would have used smartphones badly. It's that they might have been too successful with them, accelerating human development beyond our species' ability to handle the consequences. Think about this. Technological progress that took us thousands of years could have happened in decades. Ancient Greek mathematics plus Chinese engineering plus Islamic chemistry, all shared instantly across cultures. We might have had nuclear weapons by 500 CE. Industrial revolution happens in ancient times. Climate change starts 2,000 years early. Environmental destruction accelerates exponentially because nobody understands the long-term consequences of rapid development. Ancient empires were already prone to overextension and collapse. Rome fell partly because it became too complex to manage effectively. Add exponential digital complexity, and these collapses happen in years instead of centuries. The psychological impact would have been devastating. Humans evolved in tribes of 50, 150 people. Ancient cities were already pushing our social limits. Suddenly connecting everyone globally would have created unprecedented levels of anxiety and social dysfunction. Privacy gets eliminated before humanity understands why it matters. Ancient surveillance states make modern authoritarian regimes look primitive. Every conversation monitored, every movement tracked, every thought potentially criminal. But the worst part? The development of wisdom that comes from reflection and contemplation gets short-circuited by constant digital stimulation. The great philosophical and spiritual traditions that emerged from centuries of human struggle might never develop at all. Ancient people learned patience because they had to. They developed deep thinking because there were no distractions. They built sustainable societies because they understood that actions have long-term consequences. Maybe our gradual technological evolution wasn't a bug. Maybe it was a feature. Maybe we needed those slow centuries of learning to communicate responsibly before we earned the right to instant global connection. So here's the brutal truth. We just explored what happens when you give unlimited power to civilizations that aren't ready for it. And if that sounds familiar, it's because we're living it right now. We are the ancient civilization that just got smartphones. We're making the same mistakes, falling for the same traps, and dealing with the same consequences. The only difference? We don't have the excuse of not knowing better. Ancient Romans built roads that lasted 2,000 years. We build apps that break in the next software update. They created legal systems we still use today. We created TikTok dance challenges. Maybe the real question isn't whether ancient people would have handled smartphones better than us. Maybe it's whether we're handling them any better than they would have. Look, I'm not saying we should throw our phones in the trash and go back to sending messages by horseback. But maybe, just maybe, we could learn something from civilizations that built things designed to last millennia instead of going viral for 15 minutes. They understood that real power comes with real responsibility. They knew that great achievements take time, patience, and wisdom. They built slowly because they built to last. We have tools that would seem like pure magic to any ancient civilization. The question is, are we wise enough to use them, or are we just ancient Romans with better graphics? All right, real talk. Which ancient civilization do you think would have absolutely dominated with modern technology? Romans with their organization? Greeks with their innovation? Or maybe the Chinese with their long-term thinking? Drop your hottest take in the comments below. And if this video made you question whether we're actually more advanced than ancient people or just more distracted, smash that subscribe button. Here at Mindshift, we're asking the uncomfortable questions that make you see everything differently. Because here's what I know. Understanding the past isn't just about history. It's about figuring out whether we're making the same mistakes with different technology. Thanks for going down this rabbit hole with me. Until next time, maybe put your phone down for 5 minutes and think about what the ancient philosophers would say about your screen time. See you in the next one.